Hello and welcome. I'm Phil Tenaya. I am a former teacher and now been a school psychologist for a long time and also a licensed psychologist. And I'm here to show you a simple process that is immediately useful to get communication and collaboration going with you and with those you serve. So it's going to set you and your students up for what I call living and learning while boosting everyone's mental health at the same time. Now, using this is going to reduce your struggles. It's going to increase communication. It helps resistant and reluctant learners move toward cooperation, and it gets everyone on the same page. Now, it doesn't take long, and you can use it anytime. So, how I get things started, and by the way, for everyone out there to get acquainted with returning to school, this is a great way to kind of kick things off. So I start by showing people this. It's called the ACT matrix. ACT stands for Acceptance and Commitment Therapy and Training. This process here is the training part, and it works with young and old folks. Now, it was created by my friend and colleague, Dr. Kevin Polk, and it does wonders for what I call flexing people up. Now, you don't need to know anything about it or get any special training to use it because, well, it's a point of view. It's a way of looking at yourself. So I show it to someone rather than telling them a story about it. I show them and I ask a few questions, and it turns out that they will do the rest with you. So here's how I start. Basically, I have the diagram up like this. So if you're a teacher in a classroom or anywhere else, you're going to have it up. Maybe I have a whiteboard here. You can use Blackboard, chalkboard, smartboard. If you want to put it on a computer, you can do that. Just you have it up available before you get started. It's going to save you a few steps. So at the top, you're going to have senses written at the top. You're going to have mind written at the bottom. Satisfaction is over here and relief is over here. And then I always write the first question right here. So that's by way of explaining. Now, I don't explain. I just say, can I show you my point of view? Everybody always says yes. So I pause and now I show the diagram. Here's my diagram. It's got senses at the top and mind at the bottom. Over here is the feeling of satisfaction, and over here is the feeling of relief. So now I have a question. And the question I want to ask to start things off is, well, who is important to you? Now I'm going to pause and I'm going to say, for example, my wife is important to me. So I'm going to write the word wife right down here like that. So then I'm going to invite my students to share with me who's important to them. And they are going to tell you their family is important. Their friends are important. They may even say that you're important. If they say their pets are important, that's great. We're going to put that down there too. Sometimes they start telling you about what's important. We can put that in there as well. So we have a grand old time just talking about who's important to us. Great. So now they're getting the hang of things. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here to the other side, the lower left part of this diagram. I'm going to say, now over here, I put the stuff that shows up inside of me that I don't want to have. And for example, I might say that something like fear shows up inside of me and I don't want it. Anybody ever experienced fear in their life? Most people are going to say yes. So here we go. We're rolling along now. So what kind of stuff like fear might show up inside of you or anyone else that they don't want to have? And now they're going to start telling you about things that show up, like anger. Bored is a very popular one that shows up for kids in school. So, and what we're going to do is just going to write it down, just as they're saying it. You just write it down, and you go, cool, cool, anger, sure, bored, great, just like that. Matter of factly, we're not getting into any analysis of this. We're just listing what I call this yucky stuff. And I'll say that to them. I'll say, all this stuff down here, I have a word for it, and I just call it yucky because you don't want it. It feels yucky to have it. So I just call it all yucky stuff. So we can put the yucky stuff right down in here. So cool, great. You guys are getting the hang of it. So now we're going to go up here to the upper part of this diagram. And up here, I like to put down the things that I do to try to get relief from my yucky stuff down here. So remember I said fear could show up inside of me, something that you could see me do, then maybe on the outside, you might see me run. And I'm running to get relief from my fear, like that. So how about the rest of this stuff down here? So for anger, what might someone do to try to get rid of their anger, get away from their anger, whatever, right? So somebody might say, well, I would talk to someone. Great, great. So I'm going to go up here, draw another arrow, talk to someone, right? Someone else might say, well, I yell or I stomp or whatever. So I'm just going to put that up there too. And I'm drawing these arrows just so they can see that we're doing this stuff up here to try to get rid of, distance ourselves, get some relief from this yucky stuff down here. So we get a little list going like that. Great, great, great. So now we're going to come over here to the upper right quadrant. And here I'm going to ask them the question, well, hey, what might you do to try to go and get satisfaction with these people down here that we've been talking about, we started out with? So I'll use the example of my wife again. So for my wife, you might see me do this interesting thing. You might see me talk to my wife. Something simple like that. How about you? Going to talk about what they're going to do with their friends. Maybe they're going to play a game with their friends. They'll text somebody. They'll have dinner with their parents. They'll feed the dog. All of that stuff is just going to go up here in the upper right. So once we get that done, I'm going to go, great. So remember, I told you this is my point of view. So let me show you how I make it a point of view. So I'm going to come in the middle here, and I am going to write the word notice, as in what we've been doing is really just noticing. We've been noticing about who's important. We've been noticing about yucky stuff that shows up inside of us sometimes. Been noticing about things we do to try to get relief from our yucky stuff. And we've been noticing things that we might do to get satisfaction. So here's my next question for you, which is, do you think that you might have an opportunity, say like in the next week or so, to notice who's important to you? What do you think? I'm going to say, yeah, I think I can. I'm going to say, well, I think I might, yeah. How about yucky stuff? You think you might notice some yucky stuff showing up inside of you? Oh, yeah, definitely, definitely. How about doing some relief moves from your yucky stuff? Oh, yeah, sure. How about doing some things to get satisfaction? Absolutely, right? So now that's it. You've done it. You've shown them your point of view. That is the whole point of doing this in the beginning. You've just shown them a way of looking at themselves, a way that you might use, and a way that they might use. And they're kind of free now to kind of pick it up at this point. And if they have an opportunity, fine. If they don't, that's fine too. Either way it's going to work out just fine. So what you're doing is showing and practicing what's known as psychological flexibility, which is the ability to notice and do the things that matter to you, even when yucky stuff shows up, like coming to school when you don't feel like it, or having a difficult conversation, or studying for a test. The more that you use it and practice it, the more you generate psychological flexibility and actions then for what matters, right? Up here. So yucky stuff is still there, but it doesn't bog you down so much. It won't bog them down so much. Psychological flexibility is also the key to mental health. And that's what science says. So we're adding and promoting science along with your point of view, which I think is a pretty cool thing. So once you show the matrix to your students or your group, you might want to have a copy up visible in your room. Just have a blank diagram up there somewhere with, senses in the mind, satisfaction and relief. You could put the notice there in the middle if you want. You don't have to. But that way, it's always available for use, and it's kind of a reminder. So, showing them allows them to experience psychological flexibility. Once they do, they have a tool to promote their own mental health. And you have also shared a point of view to look at issues and experiences with. Yucky stuff like fear and anxiety and worry are going to continue to show up. We know that. That's just going to keep happening in life. The difference now is that they're going to learn how to experience it just a little bit differently. And that's what the noticing is about. They can notice it showing up. And when they do, they are beginning to empower themselves to keep moving toward who and what is important to them. So, you're using this tool to helping them to develop and become more aware of this is the social emotional part, which is up here is the social world of actions. They're becoming more aware of that through noticing, while at the same time, they're becoming more aware of their own internal experiences, their own internal emotional experiences. So you have the social world of action, you got the emotional world of the mind, and the noticing is really where they start to do the learning in terms of learning things that they can be doing. They're going to help them keep going. So, the thing you want to do now is if you just want to practice it. So, if you get the chance, you might have the opportunity to show it to someone. And that's kind of the best way to learn it, folks, is to find someone, get with someone, show it to someone. If you're really brave, you can just go right in and start with your class. They're going to love it. And if you do, I invite you to share, to come back here and share in the comments below what you're noticed. And I'm going to be curious to see how it works out for you. And I'm willing to bet others might be too. So I'm also going to invite you to subscribe to this channel, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to put out more content as we roll through the school year. And if you're subscribed, you're going to get a notification. If there's things that you might want to see, you can put that in the comments too. There's more to come. And so I invite you to also check out the links below. There's other resources. And I will see you in the next video. Take care.